I'm Wayne DeBey, AIFD, the Flower Man, and I want to show you some transitional items for the Christmas going into New Year's and winter season. We did Christmas last time, and I really had intended to do mostly Christmas this time, but as I thought about it, I really want to show some ideas that you can take those Christmas arrangements and maybe repurpose them a little. I'm going to start with a very traditional style design. This is a hurricane, and I've got my foam, I've got an inexpensive container underneath it. I'm going to start greening with some of the winter greens, and I'm starting with the Port Orford cedar, and it has a natural curve, but it's not going the way I want it to, so I'm going to take and kind of roll this over my thumb, which will then let it drape. It'll get a drape to it versus being quite so up in the air. I'm going to come in and just put it in on the ends, and when you have pieces like this left, you don't have to toss them away. You can go ahead and use them to fill in, and I just popped that one, so going to be even shorter to fill in. Put it right up there. Come on the other side. This is a symmetrical arrangement. Anytime you're doing a centerpiece, the majority of them should be fairly symmetrical, unless you know your customer and you know that they would appreciate something a little bit different. And if you like something different, come in and ask. We're happy to do that. When I think about transitional seasons, and certainly after Christmas we go into New Year's, and you know, if you follow the 12 days of Christmas, then it really is Christmas until the 6th of January, but it starts to change a little in the feel of it. It's not quite as much all the red and the white as it is earlier on. Certainly can still have lots of glitter and glitz going. I think that we crave that in the winter because of the days getting dark quick. I think that is one of those just kind of natural responses we have to the winter. And I've made a pretty basic greening here. I've greened fairly equal all the way around. I'm hitting something there it's going in. So it really is pretty much equally displayed all the way around. Want to come in and bring a couple of other types of greenery into it. And I've got some of this wonderful silver fir. And with silver fir, I use the underside of it to show, because that's where that beautiful silver tone is. This is also got a wonderful fragrance. This is one of those fragrances you probably more associate with Christmas than maybe the cedar. If you're working with fresh evergreens, there's a couple of things that I found over the years. One of my friends swears by an Avon product called Silicone Glove that will keep your fingers from getting all gummed up with the sap. Another thing is to use, I find that a glycerin-based soap also helps to pull that gumminess off of your hands when you've been working with it. You really just need to kind of layer this over the top a little. This is a showier green, so I've used the Port Orford as kind of the base material, and now I'm coming in trying to put some different over the top of it. And I'm going to do some traditional whites in it as well. Again, thinking that this is transitional. I'm going to use this again later, but I thought it would be nice to put a little touch of this. This is one of the Oregonias, and This is a nice white one. Sometimes it's got a very yellow presence, but this is a nice white presence to it. I like this. I like to work with this. It's a very lasting green also. Pop this and get this kind of spread around. And I always go through, and if it's got yellow or damaged leaves that I don't like, I take them off. It just makes for a nicer presentation when you're done. I also brought up a little bit of the princess pine. It's a long-needled pine, and I like the softness. This also has a pretty nice natural drape. And again, I will use it with that drape going down. That's the way I prefer it to be, especially in the centerpiece. Traditionally, centerpieces aren't real tall pieces. You can bend those rules, but for the average dining room table, you want something that people that are seated on either side can see over, so they can enjoy the company. I know that sometimes when I'm at floral conventions, centerpieces can be extremely elaborate and very tall, but they always try to have some sort of window of vision through the centerpiece so that you still have that ability to communicate across the table. So we just kind of keep adding into it and build it. I'm going to take the carnations, and they are open, they're soft, they're opening nicely. I'm going to fluff them a little bit so I've got full show of them. And I want to go ahead and tuck those in fairly low. And to fluff, again, you know, I think I've shown this many times, but just rub them gently across the top. If the flower is warm and pretty well open, you can go ahead and open the rest of the way very easily. If it's a very tight bud, you don't want to try to do that. You'll probably just hurt the blossom in the end. People come in and always say, oh, it smells like Christmas in the store. And you know, it does when I first start working with Christmas greens. And again, I haven't worked with them now for the last couple of hours, so as I cut them again, I can smell them again. But oftentimes your nose just gets where you don't smell those sorts of things. This is a little snowflake palm. It is in the chrysanthemum family, and vase life is terrific on it. Kind of looks like maybe a snowflake. I don't know if any two are ever alike with snowflake palms, but they are very pretty little lacy blossoms that I like to add in. And it's something we really just see this time of year. The growers in general follow a season, and they do tend to grow products for the season. So this is one of the timely products we have here in the winter. See if I can find a place I think that needs to be yet. And this is so far pretty monochromatic. I want to work with that and maybe change that up a notch now. We've got some of these little green, this is a permanent and artificial that I'm putting in here. And it just adds, I think, a nice presence. It adds a little bit of sparkle to it. There is a little sparkle in the base of this hurricane. And I think I put them all up here, so I'll just grab it out of there. So we want to kind of pick up on that as well. Turn it around, see what it looks like on this side as well. It looks like I'm getting mostly there. Might come in with a little bit of, this is the green trick dianthus. It is in the carnation family. or I should say a carnation is a dianthus. And this is also that same trait, very long lasting. It's got, it's kind of like the mad doctor of the carnation world, I guess. Kind of a fun, sort of fuzzy texture. It's more textural than anything. Reposition that carnation just a touch. And so I think that I have done a little centerpiece. I always light the candle. I always think it's great to have a candle burning. Something like this where it's got the glass globe is very well protected, and you won't have much fear of setting the greenery on fire or anything around it. So that is a nice way to go with the centerpiece. I want to work also with, this is an oversized mug. This is one of those great little gifts for someone if they have, if they're a coffee drinker, cocoa drinker. We could even put a pack of cocoa or something with this arrangement, and it would be a fun little present. They could enjoy the fresh flowers, and then after the fact would have the mug. I drink my coffee a lot of times out of a big oversized mug like this, and I do like that size, and I think other people would as well. Coming in with some myrtle, I'm trying to create a very vertical line in the center of this. And we can come back in around the bottom of it and take some of these littler pieces off of the Port Orford and tuck it in as well. I think I need to sharpen my knife. It's a little dull. One of those occupational hazards. You need to have a sharp knife. They always say a dull knife is more dangerous than a sharp one. I've learned when I cut that I don't pull into my thumb, that I pull away and pull my hand or my thumb away from the knife, so I'm not actually slicing into the end of my knife or my thumb. That was one of those lessons learned. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of this Orgonia in, because so far this is a pretty dark presence, and I really want to lighten this up just a touch. I don't want it to be just totally dark, so I want something pretty and light in it as well. So that helps. I brought up some Star of Bethlehem, and it is botanically it's Ornithogalum, and it doesn't look like a whole lot at this stage, but this blossom will continue to grow and open out for a long, long time. It's one of my favorites, especially at this time of year, because of the longevity of the blossom, and also the name, Star of Bethlehem, seems somehow appropriate at Christmas time. You can come in, and if the blossoms that are open are spent, you can pluck them off, and like I said, it will grow and open. We're also starting to see the first of this little accent flower. This is Ginestra, and it is a blooming locust, and it is Italian. They've tried to grow it elsewhere and have some success with it, but the Italian Ginestra seems to be always the best. And I should do a little more research. I don't know if it obviously is somewhere along the Mediterranean, I would guess. I would think northern Italy would be too cold at this time for trees to be blooming, or shrubs. So my guess is it probably is in that Mediterranean climate at the southern tip, or somewhere along the middle. I wish we had smell-o-vision. I don't remember what show it was, but they used to talk about that smell-o-vision, so you could actually catch the fragrance of the flowers. I have some great big pine cones, and I don't know if I'm going to like them or not, but I thought I would start with that to put them in. I need to reposition that a little. And put that one down in there. One more back here. And I've got a third one. I'm going to do kind of a terracing effect on this side. I'll turn it around here in a moment and let you see what I'm trying to do there. I want to step that down a little. And this one, as I pulled it together, as I look at it, I think to myself, you know, this would be maybe something more appropriate for a man. It has kind of a masculine feel to it at this point. And so I would suggest maybe a guy might like this. It would be a great thing for sending to the office, or could send it to the home. Either way. Then if you wanted to, you certainly could go ahead and put some other embellishments in this. I brought a little bit of this glitter stick, which picks up some of that greenish tone. It's got a blue cast to it as well. We'll take a little bit of this. And this is a dried product that has been glued and glittered. It is the season when I like to say my sparkling personality is always showing through. When I get home and take a close look at myself, I see that my face is shining, my clothes are shining. It is part of the season. Again, this helps to lighten that overall presence. And it doesn't scream Christmas. I think, to me, that this is a good transition for it. And find a spot to get that one down in there. Got just a little bit of a hole on this side. This is another thing Orthonia is terrific for. It's always got these great little whorls, and it's very easy to just tuck a piece of that in. And so there is an idea that might be very workable for a guy. The next thing I want to do, I brought out one of these lovely mercury glass containers, and I see I've got a label sticking in or floating inside of it. And mercury glass has had a resurgence for the last several years. It still is very popular. It's a little more upper end. There are recipes and ways on YouTube telling you how to make your own mercury glass, and you can make kind of a mock mercury with it. I've tried it. The real stuff is always prettier, in my estimation. So we'll start with a couple of pieces of the Oregonia. I want to make kind of a frog, if you will, in the bottom of this. And then I'm going to take a little bit of this myrtle that I had left over. And I did spray this. I like to have a little gloss or a little sheen to it. The bottoms of it don't always show it as much. And for this, we're going to be bold. We're going to do something big and bold in this. I'm going to put a piece or two of this in as well. Pull that silvery tone up and into the container, if you will. You want to always try to clean it off at the bottom. You don't want any excess foliage under the water. That's when it will break down and decay. And even though we've got the preservative in the water, you still want to do some basic cleaning on the products as you use them. Use a good preservative. If you don't, you probably will need to be changing water every day. And you can do that too. That's not a problem if you're home and you don't have access to the floral preservatives. We use one that's crystal clear, and it's made to stay clear in the water. It doesn't get cloudy, and it works well in clear glass vases. In a mercury vase or a colored vase, it's not as important. You don't see that, but we just use that as our general preservative in store. And you must mix it correctly. That's another thing. I know I probably have harped on that many times over the years, but they tell me that poorly mixed preservative is in some cases worse than no preservative. Got a few of the upright gladiola, the white gladiola, and they're just starting to bloom out. I'm going to take and tuck them in. Gladiola have a pretty good vase life, and they have been through several trends where they've been used in mass, and they're always wonderful. Add a lot of height to things. They open down the stalk, and you have a lot of blossom showing. With a day, probably this will be pretty well full bloom. Then I brought out a couple of big, beautiful, this is an LA lily, big, beautiful white lily. And force of habit, I just plucked the pollen off of the face of the lily. That way it doesn't stain it, it doesn't discolor. If you like the pollen and it's not a problem, that's certainly no issue letting it stay there and keeping it in place. Put a couple of these in. The LAs are a hybrid lily, and they're not especially fragrant. It's not the Oriental lily. Some people confuse that with the Oriental lily, but the LAs are bigger than the Asiatics. They just aren't. They don't have that intense fragrance, which for some people is good. Some people find the Oriental lilies objectionable because they are so very fragrant. I've got a couple of pieces of the Star of Bethlehem. I'm going to go ahead and put them in to the arrangement as well. And a little bit of the Genestra. I will put some fragrance in here because we've got everything is very pretty, but nothing in it is really highly fragrant. So I'll tuck this little bit of Genestra in, and that will perfume the whole area around it. I think that I want to come in. I took the liberty of putting some of the little Christmas ornaments, the millimeter balls, on picks earlier. And I think I want to come in and just tuck some of these in at the lip of the vase. Just add a little bit of that sparkle, a little bit of that color to it. And so there you have a very simple, straightforward, and pretty arrangement. I like this monochromatic. I started out with something else that I forgot to put in here, so let me take just a quick look. Here they are. I was going to pull some of the green spiders into this arrangement. Some people tell me that green is a neutral, so I guess we'd still be monochromatic if you consider green as a neutral. Mums have a fragrance, not incredibly endearing, but they do have a fragrance of their own. And this is really just adding another layer, a little depth to this arrangement is what we're doing by adding the green into this. Come in and tuck it under the lily. And the last thing I want to put in here is a little bit of eucalyptus, because once again I want to pull that silver tone from the vase all the way up and through. So we've got silver in the vase, we've got some of this silver fur in the back at the base of it, and now I want to put this up and through the arrangement as well. It also adds another fragrance. Eucalyptus, as I cut it, especially this fresh eucalyptus, has a very pungent fragrance that comes out of it. Turn it around, put this in where I think I want it. I like this trio placement. I use that frequently, and I think that it's a pleasing sort of thing to have three of a kind in near proximity. And there you have it. This is what I would consider a very nice transitional piece. Would work through Christmas, but certainly take it into the new year and beyond, especially because this is very loosely arranged in a vase. If the flowers fade, you could pull it out, get some more blossoms and tuck it back in. If you do that, you always want to change the water, get some fresh preservative water in the vase to keep it going. I think that's what I have to show for you today. I'm the Flower Man, DeBey, and I thank you for watching.